Happy New Year to all you lovely people. Welcome to Patch Day, the video game podcast, where we talk about video game news, rumors, discussions, and all other nonsense related to one of our favorite pastimes ever. My name is Cavo. Joining me, as always, all the way up in the Jersey, is AJ 9 Lives. AJ, how you doing this new year?
Tired.
But
aside from that, looking forward to.
Oh.
So nothing changes when that clock strikes midnight except for written time. I'm looking forward to a good year. This year was really good to me, and I hope everyone out there also has a good one. And I hope I don't get too drunk this year at all.
Not like the end of the year. No, I'm kidding. All right. Well, thank you for being here and for being sober. No, okay. Because I haven't played that role at all. Joining us again, all the way from the Mash Those Buttons podcast, he's one of the co-hosts or WoW Talk and the Torn and the Goblin. It is Nick, aka Wookie BH. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year. It's come. It's bust down the door saying, I'm here, 2017. Go fly a kite.
Bye, bitch.
Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. If there was ever a farewell to give to 2007, even 2016, it was when Robin Roberts said "Bye, Felicia" on air on Good Morning America. I'm like, what?
Whatever.
Like, I loved that she did that. I'm like, but here's the thing. Like, I'm only going to go into just this one tad. It's the thing about news media now is "Bye Felicia" is a newsworthy quote now, which is ridiculous. So, but it happens. For viewers who are going to be watching this later on the YouTube feed, you might notice that both me and AJ have a new setup. My reasoning is because I kind of had to move everything over to my room because a certain Canadian's going to be coming to my house in about a week and eating all my food, ruining all my furniture. No, I'm kidding. She's my friend. She is moving down here for college, and so I had to move everything from my office over yonder in Blue Land because there's a blue room in there, and bring it over here into Beige Land. So, which is my bedroom. My bedroom. Oh. It's my bedroom that I'm in now.
Not your fungin, your bedroom.
Not my fungin. No, Nick has the fungin. You had the
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't invaded by a Canadian, but I was.
Wait. You were invaded by a Canadian?
No, I said I was not invaded by a Canadian. I was just invaded by my dad.
Oh,
who needed a more efficient home workspace than the dining room table. So.
I didn't notice this until now. Is that a drawing desk right beside you there? To the left of you? Your left. So.
Just a regular table behind me. The drafting table.
That's what I meant. That's a drafting table.
That's the drafting table.
Yeah. That's what I was mentioning. That's really cool looking.
Yeah, and it's got all kinds of like knobs and doohickeys and stuff. My stepmom's father handcrafted that for him, which I'm very impressed by.
It's very nice. But yeah, so we got a desk. I got a desk as well, which took a cool down of 2.5 hours to make. We used the right followers to build it because certain followers have different benefits and buffs. We used my uncle follower and my mom follower, which if we used my dad follower, it would have been a two hour more process, so it would have been 4.5 hours because he would have noticed something when and he'd be cussing himself and everything, and we wouldn't get done.
Yep. As dads do. Whereas
my uncle's like, all right, let's get this done. So I was like, okay, cool. I like that process. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. This is the first recording of 2018. So before we get into news, let's always start with how we do it now. Let's see what everyone's playing. Nick, since you're the guest, I would like to ask you, what have you been playing this past, well, I guess since you've last been on, but more like the last week and a half or so. What have you been playing, sir?
Predominantly Hearthstone.
I noticed,
I have a Kindle Fire tablet, and I had to wipe it, and then the only thing I've installed on there is Hearthstone, and that's all I use it for now, is to play Hearthstone. So we were traveling last week, so I wasn't really able to log into WoW. So I was just playing that. I've been doing the dungeon runs in Hearthstone. I'm up to 100 and some odd attempts on my priest.
Oh my god.
It is not going well at all. So I feel like I'm just gonna keep throwing my priest at the dungeon until I just get lucky on one run.
Wow.
Because yeah, and then I don't know why I chose priest next. I have out of the 9 classes I've done 4, and so there's other ones I could move on to, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna keep running priest, and it just feels like that initial. They give you like 10 cards initially. I just feel like there's not enough damage in there,
Yeah.
or if you just draw bad, like then like too many of the dungeon bosses can easily just overrun you. You can't let them build any board presence, and if you don't draw right, they just build the board presence, and then you're playing catch up, and then they do so.
It's one of those games where you really have to have good luck.
Yes.
Even if you have like the best dang cards ever, you've got to have them come up in a certain way. This is what I learned from Yu-Gi-Oh days. Like I could have so many good cards, like 2 blue eyes, white dragons, a dark magician. Don't judge me. Summon skull and all those things, and be like, I got all of these. Yes, but you have no monsters to sacrifice to summon them. So it was like, right, cool. But yeah, I've seen it and I have not played it yet, but only heard good things. I know Scott Johnson on the instance was raving about it. He was like, this is my mode. This has to be on the main screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, yeah. I think if a lot of people are loving it, they need to just put it on the main screen, I think.
I had been predominantly trying to grind out Quest Rogue to get my 500 wins, ranked wins with Rogue, just to get my Golden Rogue. And since Dungeon Run came out, I do my daily quests just to knock them out, and then I just spend all my time doing the Dungeon Run. So it's
Nice.
I haven't gotten bored with it yet. It's gotten to the point where, like I said, for the last few weeks, I didn't play WoW because I was traveling. I could only play Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
But even before that, I was like, I could log in and work on something. And wow, no, I'm gonna do dungeon runs. I just do dungeon runs like for hours on end, and it's terrible. I don't know. I probably need to be consulted by the World Health Organization for some sort of game.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Don't get me
But
started on that.
oh
yet.
boy, you have more wins than I do because I don't even think I have 100 wins on any of them, or in general. Because I love the Hearthstone like art style, the gameplay. Yeah, it's for a different people though. Like I don't know. I'm a little phased out by cards now, just because of an experience when I was a kid. My whole card deck was stolen at school, and I had to rebuild the entire deck. And if I averaged out how much some of the cards cost in that deck at the time, I think it was around like a $200 deck. So
that's like Grand Theft card.
Grand Theft Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what
Grand
it is.
Theft
Grand Theft Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
That should also be a game.
I know. It should be a great. It's time to die.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto, edited for weebs,
Edited for weebs, especially AJ.
which I am not.
No, but we found out really quick that Orgoth is one because he's been in Final Fantasy 14 forever the last 2 weeks or something. That guy.
Yep, that's.
I don't blame him though.
That's
It is a very fun game. Again, if you're not a fan of Final Fantasy, it's probably not for you. But it is a lot of fun. I just haven't been in it just because it is still a sub-based game also. So I only have one. I don't have enough money to focus on 2 subs right now. So
He keeps trying to convince me to play it, and it's like, oh, you'll love it. I'm like, I can't get past like the theme and the art style. I just don't know if I can really latch onto it. Oh, it's fine. You'll love it. And I'm like, you know how Orgoth like pokes you nonstop.
Apparently, Orgoth has a smaller Terrell voice going on in his head. Oh, you're fine. You love it. All right. Speaking of games, AJ, what have you been playing this past week and a half?
Mainly WoW, with some other stuff. But in WoW, we beat Heroic Coven of Shivara. I know they were nerfed a few weeks ago, which makes me feel like my penis shrank a little bit that I didn't kill pre-nerf, but whatever. But no, that was a great kill. Still my favorite boss in the dungeon in the raid, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Agrimar took us a few pulls, but apparently my internet decided that 900 ms lag spikes was like the perfect thing to do during the Agrimar fight,
Ooh.
which is where I had a vital role of ad management because there's 6 ads that you have to manage properly on Heroic, and we have 3 warlocks including me, and there's 6 ads, and I have to be on banish duty. And I was lagging hardcore. All I heard, of course, Discord was sitting on my second monitor, all smug looking, wasn't affected by any latency. I could hear my raid leader yelling, blue, banish, Arafel, banish him. And I'm like, I am literally running in place. I cannot move. Someone else do it. And it was frustrating. I eventually just Alt F4'd and I didn't wait for the disconnect. I Alt F4'd and reconnected. And of course, there was no lag after that.
Right.
It felt kind of silly. Then we got a few pulls on Heroic Argus. And the ad phase, or ad phase with the ones that have the weaknesses to them. That we wiped to that a few times before calling it because it was our raid was over. But that's because the tanks get hit really hard, and if one tank goes down, the other tank cannot take it all. So you gotta keep the tanks alive. But tonight we're probably gonna kill Heroic Argus because it's literally just a normal fight but harder, which is fine because it's a complex enough fight just for that to work. Like Agrimar, simple fight. Go ahead and add a mechanic for Heroic. Same thing with Coven. Despite people saying how hard it is, it could deal with extra stuff on Heroic. But aside from all that, I have resurrected an old favorite of mine from years back, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed for the Nintendo Wii.
Wow. Oh, geez, that's an oldie.
And to be honest, I think that's one of the best aged Wii games out there.
Yeah.
Like even though there's a 99% chance that it's not canon, but with all the retcons that happened with Force Awakens, that trilogy, who knows what's canon anymore?
Well, that was before the Disney acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was made in.
That it's not canon.
Right.
Yeah. This game was in 2008, I want to say. 2008, 2009, and it takes place like a little bit before A New Hope.
Yeah.
And but what they did with it is something similar with Rogue One, is that they made it so, if you make the right decisions in the game, then nothing changes in the story. You know what I mean? It doesn't change anything, which I like.
Right.
They make it so that they can make a story that probably didn't happen, but make it work anyway. I like that.
Yeah. So that if it did become canon, it would make sense that it would happen.
It would work.
But it doesn't affect any of the main story. Like, the thing about, because with Rogue One, that's like an offshoot movie that you don't have to see Rogue One in order to get the Star Wars movies and the main canon. You just have to watch them.
I like sad stories that work.
Yes. But at least it's not retcon as much as WoW has been doing. So
lol.
We're not gonna go into no.
Yeah. But the reason I started playing that again is because everyone's been all about that Star Wars for the Last Jedi, and
no Solo, all about that Star Wars.
Too soon.
No Solo.
Too soon. I mean, well, the thing is, I didn't. Okay, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I really did not like Force Awakens, at all.
Yeah.
And I was reserving judgment because there's 2 more movies, and everyone kept saying, "Looks." Every comment, question, criticism I have, they'll explain that in the next movie. And I'm like, okay, I understand the first of a trilogy is supposed to be setting things up, but it shouldn't leave way more questions than it answers. And this is exactly what Force Awakens did. And I didn't see The Last Jedi yet. I'm going to see it later this week.
Well,
I spoiled myself, so I mean, if anyone in the chat,
know what happens, but
yeah, we don't. I mean, if anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, I don't want to spoil it.
We're not going to spoil it here. I'm going to say the only thing I'll say about it is it's going to. I haven't excuse me. What they do in this movie is very different from the other episodes. They go right where it left off, basically. It picks up literally right where it left off. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I heard a lot about it, but I obviously want to reserve final judgment until I see it for myself. But from what I heard, I don't know if I'm going to like it as much, but I'm still going to see it because it's Star Wars, man. Yeah. It's Star Wars. But, yep, that's what I've been doing.
I think you were trying to say something, Nick. What would you say?
Well, I was going to say they had to pick up where they left off because Abrams made a great pilot for a 10-hour Netflix series if that's what the next Star Wars trilogy was going to be.
Yeah.
But instead, it's the first of a trilogy of movies that's supposed to sustain you for 2 years, and you don't end a movie like that on that kind of cliffhanger.
Right.
Because the whole point of these movies is that they're supposed to take place sort of in real time. 2 years passes between episode 4 and episode 5. 2 years is supposed to have passed between, or the way it should have been is 2 years should have passed between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. But instead, these all take place within the span of 2 weeks because Abrams doesn't understand how it, sort of the intricacies of a Star Wars trilogy. He understands a trilogy in general because you're right about sort of the way Abrams set up those questions about Rey's parentage and Snoke's origins and all that
Luke's lightsaber
sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then, but what he didn't count on was that what he didn't count on is that he didn't count on the fact that he'd have to come back because Johnson addresses those questions in his own way, and now Abrams has to come back, and I'm pretty sure he did not expect Rian Johnson to do with the those questions of Snoke's origins and Rey's parentage, what he did.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what Abrams does with Episode 9.
I was impressed with how Johnson actually did pick it up from that point, though, because he is, from what I understand, is relatively new in directing a movie like this caliber.
So they put him to doing Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like,
they put the rookie in Star Wars.
You're a new guy, right? Sure. Give him Star Wars to see how this goes.
Well, he was. I mean,
he's not a new guy, but
everybody's sort of new to directing Star Wars because it's so massive. But,
right.
But I mean, I can't remember what he's done before. But was he the one that had done Godzilla?
I don't know. What I meant by that was like with Abrams, like at least he had like a bunch of big movie credits before he came into doing Star Wars. Like obviously he did. It's weird. He did Star Trek and the first Star Wars, and now he's doing the third Star Wars. Just that seems like a cardinal sin in nerd culture. I think that because like all the Trekkies are like, no, he needs to stay. And no, I don't know what the Trekkies' opinion are. I can't say anything like that.
It's just it just seems like it didn't seem creative to me, like The Force Awakens and like the everything they were setting up. It seemed like a rehash of a rehash, and it seems like they're just kind of making shit up as they go. Mm-hmm. And like that was my biggest criticism, and like lack of development and stuff.
I have to assume that like Kathleen Kennedy or somebody at Lucasfilm, and Disney are at least managing the story, because I would have to think that they're not just turning the reins over to each individual director to, like when Rian Johnson is like, okay, this is what we're going to do with Rey's parentage. Like Disney and Lucasfilm have to be cool with it. They're not just like, okay, do whatever you want, and then we'll leave the mess for the next guy to clean up. There has to be an overarching vision for what they want out of this trilogy. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily seem that way, because what Johnson did was so divergent from what Abrams did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it feels like 9 has to sort of tie everything together in a nice little bow, because that's what the end of a trilogy is supposed to do. It doesn't have to try everything, but sort of I guess like the main arc between Rey and Kylo Ren. And I don't know if Johnson and Abrams agree on what that arc should be.
All we know is that at some point Johnson is going to have his own trilogy to do later. So, what?
No, that's how it should be. That they should just give the trilogy to one person to oversee the whole thing. And then this way, if Abrams sets up any stupid stuff in the first one, it gets drawn out and addressed throughout the trilogy.
Wasn't the original 3 by different directors, or was it different writers I'm thinking of?
Well, Lucas was the visionary behind all of it. So even though he didn't actually write or direct, I think he co-wrote, because it was Kasdan who directed Kasdan wrote and somebody else directed the second one. But Lucas was at least involved, that he made sure everything went along. And there are still bumps. I mean, you still have that weird kiss between Luke and Leia.
And then later on, she's like, oh yeah, I've always known our brother and sister. I like how they addressed that in the Family Guy parodies of that. Yeah. Like, I've always known. Wait, are you serious? Yeah, but like even the prequels, people like to crap on the prequels because they're not the greatest made films, but even they did a pretty good job of like setting up, building up, developing characters, hitting that big climax, and then setting the stage for where the original trilogy would have picked off. And I feel like this new trilogy is just
big climax. Yes, something Hayden Christensen will not know about.
Oh my!
Sorry, that's bad.
Well, at least for the prequels, they knew where they were going. I mean, here we know where we're starting, and they can go anywhere. They can abandon the Skywalker lineage, and they can abandon all the characters we've known before, and just do whatever they want. And it's kind of in a way that's liberating to the Abrams and Johnson and everybody, because they're free to do what they want. But on the other hand, it's like they can do whatever they want. And I think we all have ideas I think we all have had ideas, because it's been 30 some odd years. Like, what happened to the everybody after Return of the Jedi? Yeah. And now we're getting that told to us. And
kind of.
I mean, I remember even talking about like the EU stuff, hearing about like Chewbacca getting killed by the Yuuzhan Vong or whatever the hell they were. And like I'm like, I love Chewbacca. Why would they kill him? That's terrible. I don't like that. But it's like now that's not canon anymore.
Retcon.
So
there's a lot of good stuff that was canon. Like I didn't read any piece. It's been literally 10 years at least since I've read any Star Wars literature. But like I remember like there was I think I read like the stories took place after Jedi. It opened up as you'd expect. Like Han and Leia are in the Millennium Falcon. Leia's pregnant. Wedge, who was the pilot that survived every single battle, was had the like whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is comfort zone. And like now we got all this stuff. Like, who the hell are these fucking people? What happened to those guys? Why is it like? Again, way more questions than it answered for seemingly no reason. Like my biggest like when I understand books, storylines, that things are cut out and then replaced by stuff that make even less sense. That's what bothers me the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, again, guys, this is Patch Day, a video game podcast. We're talking about video game news, rumors.
We just spent 20 minutes talking about Star Wars.
Hey, it's worth it, okay? Because it stems from a video game. So you were talking about Force Awakens.
Force Unleashed.
But Force Unleashed, excuse me. Right. Too close of a title, too. But anyway.
Don't dare make that mistake.
I know. So my gameplay experience the past week and a half. So I did, other than gameplay, I did see Last Jedi, and I did like it. There were parts of it where I was like, okay, we'll talk about that off stream or off recording at least. But I've been playing a mix of a little bit of WoW, a little bit of Overwatch, which I finally got my Junkrat skin that I wanted.
Woo.
So spending $30 later on 30 freaking loot boxes that not had one single thing in it that I want. But I know it's bad. Would make a lot of loot box nerds hate who is it that didn't like loot boxes, like the government or something? I think it was the government.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that it's conducive to
gambling.
Like making gambling, drawing out, gambling tendencies, making those worse, which I don't disagree with entirely, but...
Someone from Watch Mojo, I forget his name, I keep forgetting his name, and at some point I want to have him, like, as a guest, if I can, swing it. He did this, there's this new series, or channel called Watch, or Mojo Plays, and it's all gaming, and the main guy who does the video game, videos for Watch Mojo, we're going to have a casual discussion about, or argument about, gambling in video games with no gimmicks. And as soon as he said no gimmicks, it cut away to him in one chair and then him in a different shirt in another chair having an argument back and forth. And
there's no such thing as a casual civil argument when it comes to those kind of topics as well.
There's not. So
a lot of clickbait involved there.
No. But anyways, other than that, I did do a little surprise stream this morning because Chia was streaming, and after she was done, she was like, Kava, are you streaming? I'm like, well, I haven't streamed.
I am now.
I haven't streamed this new set. I guess I can try out the new setup, see how it goes. So, turned it on. Was going to play WoW until I got a little gift in my Steam mailbox and looked at it. It was the Jackbox Party Pack version 1. So, I was like,
nice.
Well, guess what we're playing, guys? So, That is a lot of fun. That is a lot of freaking fun. And only one person needs the actual game to play it. So, that's the really cool thing I like about it. And you can stream it to Twitch. And like later games have like a Twitch option where it's everyone's gameplay, or the main gameplay is like live rather than a delayed reaction, which this is what this one is, sadly, but it's whatever. What else was going on? I didn't necessarily play a game, but I did get a drone. So I didn't start playing it yet. My dad did, though, with his. He got one as well. Soon as he got it, he put the controls up, it took off, and went away. Did
he ever get it back?
He finally got it back.
How long did it take him to get it back?
I want to say 5 days. Like, he didn't actively go looking for it, though. He thought it was gone, like it was gone back to the government or something like that. I don't know. But he put like, he even made flyers for it. He's like, have you seen my drone? Have you seen my drone? Have you seen my drone?
What?
I think it was more like sticky notes or something. But his neighbor knocked on his door. He had his drone in his hands, like, "Hey, I found this in a bunch of leaves," and like, "Oh, thank you." So it was cool, but we learned one thing from that incident: is read the directions before you start with the drone.
Before you give your father
Actually,
a drone.
read directions for anything. Actually,
We're men. We don't read
especially
directions.
this thing right here that I have, because I know if my dad came down, he would have been like, "We don't need directions to build this." Yes, we do.
Yeah, I barely read directions when I built my chair, and now half of it doesn't work.
It's like, we don't need directions for a chair. Half cocked on the half of the screen, can't even see the side of the face as you're leaning over.
Can you sit on it? Yeah, then it works.
Can you roll it? Not really. Good. All right. Anywho.
All right. Anywho.
Let's go into some news talk. All right, so there's a new holiday tradition going around, guys. Did you know about this? It's Jeff Kaplan roasting on an open fire. A top video game designer, a.k.a. Daddy Jeff, spent 10 hours sitting silently in front of a crackling fire on Christmas Eve while being watched by an audience of around 40,000 people. I believe Katie was one of those people who was watching it too. Thousands visited the online streaming video platform Twitch to watch the broadcast from Jeff Kaplan, head designer of Overwatch. In the video, which recalled the Scandinavian TV show or slow TV trend, Kaplan sat in complete silence for most of the day, staring placidly into the middle distance, except for the moment when a boom mic bumped into his head, knocking off his glasses. At one point, he answered a phone call. "I'm really sorry, I can't take a call from a telemarketer right now. I'm doing this thing where I have to sit in front of a fire for 10 hours. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm going to have to call you back." He also ate a chocolate chip cookie, sprinkled it with salt, telling him, "That's delicious. I could eat this all day long." Because his favorite kind of, because he likes his cookies likes his Overwatch with a little bit of salt.
See,
Yeah.
See, now, part of me wants to think that some of this was like pre-recorded and like looped.
I would hope it would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
supposedly, I didn't watch it. I just read about it. But supposedly, you can tell like he has like the neutral sitting position, which sort of loops on a certain basis. You can sort of watch his blinking to get a feel for when it loops back. And then every so often they would go into like the little pre-recorded bits, like the boom mic.
Right.
And then like certain like little gestures would repeat at like very convenient times.
They edited it very nicely to make it seem like it was a whole thing.
I mean, like,
or maybe
expect the man,
or maybe he actually did. We don't ever know.
I mean, you can't expect anyone to sit down for 12 hours. But like, when's he gonna go to the bathroom? 10 hours.
That is a good point. Like, when did he go to the bath? Like, if he had a cookie and milk, he's gonna have to go to the bathroom at some point, and it's gonna be a while because he might be constipated. But we don't know. I know this is the reason why I like Jeff.
He's awesome.
He's, when he talks in his developer updates and stuff, you get this feel like he's like this weird, quirky, geeky guy that loves to talk about games because he is the game director of one of the most popular games of all time now, but he also he's not afraid to be trolly. He's not afraid to be vicious in a ways, and he's also very funny. Like he knows he was the perfect person for this, and unfortunately you don't see this come from like someone like Ian as a co-host. Like, yes,
hell no.
He has some funny bits, but he's more like like he was a lawyer before he came into this, or he practiced something in law, I think.
No, he was a lawyer.
Okay. But he's more of like the analytical background. Like, he's going to talk more properly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, one of the things I love most about Ian is how eloquently he presents.
Yeah.
And he makes good memes.
He makes good memes.
Like, there's a screenshot of him talking about Argus. He looks so cocky, and he had like the alien's face. He's like, yes.
He has the best not resting bitch face. That's not what it is.
Well,
smug face. He has a smug face. So, like, even if you don't agree with his stuff, he can just look at you with the smug face like, what are you going to do about it?
Ian's the kind of guy that even if you don't agree with his stuff, he knows his stuff.
Right.
That he's going to... Maybe he can't, like, even if it's something opinion-based that he can't actually win, he can at least counter-argue you and get you to a stalemate.
Right.
And he's... you can tell he's not just making stuff up on the fly.
Right. I mean, well, according to a lot of things I heard, apparently last BlizzCon, he was getting approached by a lot of drunken nerds, and they were trying to educate him on how to fix WoW, which is exactly what he needed, I'm sure.
Right. I'm sure he needs education on
Oh,
WoW.
yeah, totally.
Like he'll just be like, let me direct you to the point of Legion. Just take a look over here. Yep.
Yeah.
When are you gonna
Let
make?
me educate you.
When are you gonna make these changes? Soon, TM.
Soon. What does that even mean? I still don't know what that joke means.
Trademarked.
Oh.
Yeah, it's because Blizzard always says things are coming out soon at the point that they trademarked it.
Yeah.
They are, at least back in the day, they were notorious for not sticking to release date.
Right.
Things were always coming soon.
They're better
To
now.
the end of September.
They're better now with it. But...
Like Alex Afrasiabi, if I took a shot every time Alex responsive thing would be, you'll just have to wait and see. Like, oh, you dickhead.
Yeah.
I like him though. He's cool.
But I can't wait for more Overwatch this year because we are going to get Blizzard World very soon. And you also know
wait, that's not in the game yet?
Nope.
I
at least all the quick plays I've been in, I've not gotten to that point yet. So I could have sworn it was in 2 because they released Moira early, and I was like, oh, well then that means they're going to have Blizzard World. Nope, Blizzard World's still not out yet apparently. But I also can't wait for the new skins that are coming that are in the base loot boxes. This isn't like a holiday theme one. Like you can get Muradin Torbjorn. You can get Black Hand Doomfist, which is okay. I want the Butcher skin for Roadhog because that looks freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. I also kind of want the Nova Widowmaker skin just because I want to finish that set. And what was the other? There was one for Orisa that was like, okay. But there's a Pit Lord, yeah. But then there was the one for Zarya, which is Barbarian, which is very fitting for her. He is very fitting. I liked it. Mm-hmm. So there is more Overwatch stuff coming, guys. There's also, well, we'll go into that later. Or not, maybe not this stream, but can't wait for more Overwatch stuff. Can't wait for the Lunar Year event coming, which means I'm gonna have another chance to get my damn Diva skin that I want because I didn't get it last year. I'm getting it this year. I also want to see. Actually, let's make a quick prediction. Who do you think is gonna get a new Lunar skin this year? Who do you think? You're the dog, by the way. So, anybody?
I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I'm not good with. I don't know. I'm not good at keeping track of who has what.
I don't think they should do it, but I think it'd be funny if they gave Orisa one, just because she has an emote where she opens a present and puppies come out, and I'm like, this is so cute. I like it.
I like that one. That was good.
It's cute. I would say give Junkrat one, but he already has it. Well, he has an epic version. Actually, give give Pharah one.
I just think Ana and Sombra had the best skins ever with the most recent holiday.
Yeah, Ana's Snow Owl is so fucking adorable.
Oh, and Sombra, she looks like a dragon cat human, like.
Yeah, crazy cat dragon lady.
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
She's a waifu anyway.
Yeah, and so is her voice actress. She's awesome. Just her, the voice actresses for Sombra, Symmetra, Pharah, and Mercy. You put all of them together, it's like amazing to watch.
You put like the whole Overwatch voice team.
Well,
you got lumping like Darren DePaul, especially.
And then oh shit, I'm blanking on his name. Lucio's voice actor. Oh, I know it.
Oh, he's a teddy bear.
He's a teddy bear.
Johnny
Cruz.
Yes.
Yeah, he is awesome. I want to meet him and shake his hand and also say, hey, you're kind of handsome.
Is there anyone who's not awesome on that voice team? Like, I feel like they only recruit awesome people.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, it is Blizzard.
Reaper is still a little, like, he's standoffish. I think he's more like he doesn't want to be in front of the camera.
That's his character.
That's it. I know.
He needs to hide his sorrows so he can reposition.
Yeah. One of my biggest highlights ever was getting to meet Lucy Pohl at her Wonder Woman show. That was still one of the best highlights ever. And derailing the show at one point. So that was sort of by accident, but also sort of not. So, oh well. Anyways,
big silly.
Going from Overwatch, let's go to Pokemon. So you made a notice. Whoa, there's some sound going on. Who's it coming from? AJ, it's coming from your end. Something's going on here. That's weird. Anyways, it sounds like a drain going off or something.
Oh my god, it's picking that up.
Yeah, it was picking it up. That's what I was like, wow. Okay. Un momento. All right. Well, while you're dealing with that real quick. So Pokemon, did it switch over? Yeah, it did. All right. Pokemon Go. Here we go. So in addition to the second Christmas event that's going on, a new update for the title is now live. This one introduced, excuse me. This one, the one previously introduced Generation 3 Pokemon, the first batch, and then we had another batch come in later, and weather recently, which I gotta say is like, I'm glad they put that in, because there's now a weather option that allows you to get bonuses for any Pokemon you catch, depending on what type it straightens. So if it's like raining out, electric Pokemon are going to be like the best thing you get. However, this new mode that they added in this update is called the Pokemon Go new AR Plus mode. As it suggests, it is an advanced version of the game's existing AR feature, tailored around Apple's AR Kit augmented reality technology. In the AR Plus mode, Pokemon appear closer to their actual size, and they'll be able to be aware of their surroundings, possibly fleeing if you startle them by making quick movements. However, if you can get close enough to a Pokemon without startling it, you get an expert handler bonus that rewards you with extra XP and Stardust when you capture the monster. Beyond the new AR Plus mode, latest update doesn't make any other particular noteworthy changes to Pokemon Go, but it is doing this because of the update on iOS 11 that allows you to do these updates, which I did try this mode out. This was I did this, I think Christmas Eve is when I tested it. The first thing I noticed is when you go to AR Plus mode, it's a whole different gameplay experience, like it's saying. So in the base gameplay, when a Pokemon pops up on the screen, it's just a Pokemon in the center of the screen, and then you have the option to give it berries and throw your Pokeball at it in order to try and catch it. And if you hit it in the ring, you get a bonus and stuff like that. In this mode, however, first thing you got to do, you'll notice, is the frame rate is insane. So like to give you a simulation of how the frame rate works, if you go to your camera function, if you have an iPhone, if you go to your camera function and you mouse over to the slow-mo feature and not press record, but just move your camera around a little bit, that's exactly what the frame rate looks like. It's redonkulous. So the other cool thing is, well, kind of cool. You have to be in a flat area surface. You got to have like an area where you can have a Pokemon actually appear. If you aren't in the area, then it's not going to spawn for you. You have to go back to the main screen. But you'll see these little grass things like go around the screen and make it look like he's moving around. And then once you reach a certain point where your phone registers, hey, we can spawn a Pokemon here, you'll see these grass like sprouts pop up. If you click one, the Pokemon will jump out, and then the Pokemon's right there. And then it'll have a little exclamation mark above its head. And the closer you get to it, the color will change on that exclamation mark. And if it turns red long enough, it'll run away. And it like, what's cool is it'll stay in that space on your camera unless you like jerk your camera around too much, to where it looks like it's actually in the world, which I really enjoy. However, it is a huge battery drainer. So unless your battery is like insanely good on your phone, or if you have a charger equipped to it, I'd only use this every now and then, because it is a different gameplay. You can get a bonus from it, but be cautious with it. That's all I'm gonna say. So
be gentle.
Be gentle.
So just to be clear, the Pokemon does not have a quest.
I'm sorry?
Pokemon does not have a quest for you. You said it's got an exclamation mark over it.
Mm-mm. The exclamation mark is a reaction meter. It's in a little speech bubble above its head, and so the closer you get to it and the more it notices you, the different it's going to turn a different color. If it turns red,
just WoW player things.
Yeah. I wish it had a quest for me, because I'm trying to get a Mew. That'd be great. But I got all the original legendary birds. I'm good with that. I don't need any other legendaries. I only really cared about Articuno, and when I finally got her, I was like, yes. Actually, excuse me, it's not a her or a him. It's no gender associated with it, but I don't know.
Ah, even the Pokemon.
We're not. Yeah.
I'm kidding. A lot of the legendary Pokemon years back, they were genderless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the original series, like they didn't actually add like genders for the Pokemon until Gold and Silver, and then from there they've like certain Pokemon didn't have them because mechanical ones wouldn't because they're machines. All right. But
anyway, we're not starting the gender topic.
No. In no way were we going anywhere about that argument. Anyways.
Hell no.
It's time to find out what our favorite Mario friends up to in our version of Mario Minutes. Let's go. I don't have a sound file. I need to make sound files for
Apparently
segments.
we were making them a few weeks ago, and we were making like really sexy Mario jokes. What was going on? Do you remember?
Let the mother effer. No.
Look at the same sausage.
Do you like to see the sausage? Look at me make a cannoli.
That was a cannoli. I think we
The
actually
cannoli. Yeah, that was the name of the show. Yeah. All right. So, not just Mario in general, but specifically, they're saying Super Mario could help prevent dementia, according to scientists, and also according to the Telegraph in the UK. Playing video games like Super Mario for 2 months can improve brain capacity and help forestall dementia, says scientists. Researchers found that playing three-dimensional platform video games and puzzle or logic games was associated with a greater gray matter in the navigation area of the brain. Training on 3D video games is thought to increase the gray matter in the hippocampus, which is I know what it is, which is the vital for the learning new skills. Because players are required to use spatial memory processes to build a cognitive map of in-game environments. The journal, published in PLOS One, also suggested that playing such games may result in brain growth in younger adults. A study conducted at the University of Montreal showed that young people who have played the 1996 game Super Mario 64 for just 2 months had increased spatial and episodic memory compared to those who only trained on a two-dimensional game. Scientists are only just beginning to understand the impact of learning on the hippocampal system and link between cognitive maps and increased gray matter, blah, 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 blah. We get the point. Mario helps your health. So, you see, Mom? It was good to play video games.
Yeah, I mean, but like, that argument has been being made for a while now that, the more brain-stimulating games like puzzle games, platform games are good for you. Like, this isn't... What I like is that this isn't a new... debate. It's just people are just continuing to feed it and continuing to recognize that video games are a good thing in capacity.
Yeah, and it's not just Mario. Like the thing about most video games, with the exception of like some first person shooters and all that, like games like you're supposed to like give you're supposed to have a challenge to it. It's not like I wouldn't say it's a lot like taking a test. It's you want to make you're challenging your memory skills, your cognitive skills, your reaction skills. That's why for like a lot of gamers who if they play an action game, they have a better reaction time to stuff, unless you're me. But there's certain things that help with like the brain function, and I don't know if you could use these on current patients that are suffering from dementia. But it's a start, It's something good. These are the research articles I like about new stuff, or when it was related to like when it's coming from an article that's not from a video game source. Like this was coming off of like GameSpot or GameZone, Games Radar, or anything like that. Be like, okay, kind of expected it. But if it's coming off of, like Good Morning America or something like that, I'd be like a little hesitant, because I'm like, are you sure? Because I've seen some of the studies stuff that Good Morning America, Today Show, and all those Fox News and all them, like they'll put up saying like a new study shows that video game can give you a third arm or something like that. So
a new study shows that we can get you to believe anything we say as long as we preface it with a new study shows.
Yeah, and I think it was John Oliver who did a segment that's saying like a new study shows this and that. Like, no, those new studies are not legit. All right, you have to have like a whole big like testing audience in order to do it. You can't just like test it on 2 people and think, oh, then this has to be true with everybody because everyone has a different brain. Everyone has a different play style. Not everyone plays video games. Some people think video games are stupid. Whereas most of us, we love video games. Did you just flip them off? Well then. But the other cool thing is that certain video games are actually used in training purposes now. Like there was a episode of Bill Nye Saves the World where they showed a facility where they trained like neurosurgeons, or I don't know if it was neurosurgeons or someone else, but they had a training program that was specifically on video games because the way you had to like move throughout that game was basically simulating how you have to move throughout the brain in order to get rid of a tumor or help with like certain things. But speaking of brain, that is the one surgery I never want to have done on me, because I'm pretty sure it's some brain surgeries you have to be awake for it. And like I saw like a documentary, like the guy, his skull is open and they're in his brain, but he's coherent. And they say you have to like tell me if you feel certain things. That is something I never want to experience.
Nope.
That is a no. Definitely no. As you can see, Nick is also saying no.
Really, any surgery is just avoid it all in general.
Yeah. Like even like LASIK surgery. I don't want to do LASIK surgery now, all because of Final Destination 5. Anyways,
those movies. No.
Frick those.
No. Just no.
I like how they started as stuff that could eventually could kind of happen if you do it right, but then it turned into like, well, that's taking a stretch. But especially that scene where the girl like is impaled by a laser. Never mind. I don't want to go into. I don't want to imagine it. All right. But so as you guys know, it is 2018 now, which means 2017 is thankfully gone. Now for every other part of the news in the world, most people can like, all right, F you 2017. We don't want to talk to you again. But we actually had a good year of video games in this year. A lot of good games, not just on the PC, but throughout all the consoles. So I'm going to go through just a few of the highlights that we've had this year. The first thing was for consoles, the single biggest event. This is all coming from Polygon, by the way. The single biggest event that came was probably the Switch. When the Switch was released, say what you want. Say if you want to be like Terrell saying, "Oh, it's just a big flaming bag of poo." Like you can say that whatever you want. But I know it's a very bad impression of him. I'm sorry.
It has a face that looks like a monkey's ass.
It does. It really does. But we have never seen a console, like a home console that's also like very portable. Like, yes, you could say the GameCube was portable, but you still had to unhitch all the cords and all that. All right, they had a handle.
Just because you put a handle on it does not make it portable. Like,
yeah,
that's a stretch.
It was easier to carry around, but
it was small. Yeah, but no, it was not. No,
it was not a portable console.
No.
Now this was the first portable like console from Nintendo. And before someone argues, well, what about the Wii U? That only had a limited range. All right, you couldn't take that screen out of the house, basically.
Anything is portable if you believe.
If you believe. It is according to the review from Polygon, it is wholly unlike the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's its own thing. It shapes competitors how it shapes with them. It remains to be seen, but seen as it's becoming the new portable console. If you get my reference there. Skyrim is on it. L.A. Noire coming on it. What else? There's a whole bunch of ports going on this game, which is good and kind of bad, because I would like to see more original stuff rather than ports, but that's Nintendo has to do certain things.
It's a start though, because what's Nintendo's biggest problem with all their prior consoles? It's that they get no third-party support.
Right.
So at the very least, if they're starting with the ports and they're doing it that way, then I would have to think that you'll start to see some of the original stuff come through. I'm sure. I mean, what was it? The Rabbids Cross Mario game, whatever that was called. I mean
that looks
that
like
was
a lot of fun.
Amazing that came out, and that game alone, let alone forget about Zelda and Odyssey, but that game alone makes me want to get a Switch. So I think at some point I'm gonna have to get one.
I still need to get one, and the only reason I have not gotten one yet is because I know Chia's bringing hers, so I'm gonna just bum off her for a little bit. But
steal it.
Steal it, yes.
Yeah, like what I do with my brother and his PS4. Whenever I want to play Bloodborne, like, well, just get your own. They're only $300. I'm like, when you only $300 for one game? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the game though too. Like I can totally see. Well, I can totally see. Like go back a few years. When by a few years I mean like 20. Like when the N64 came out. Like it was the first 3D console for Nintendo. Super Mario 64 came out. Do you know how many people were going crazy about that?
And not a ton of games.
Not a ton of games came out for it.
Understandable.
But
they only needed Super Mario 64 because that helped their brain power.
Yeah, they did exactly. They were like, "Yo, this is gonna make me not forget stuff later on in life." So let's go. But I mean, there's also obvious other games you could have got with consoles. Like it's not just limited to Mario; it could also be limited to Zelda. There's also Metroid Prime 4 coming in the near future, which I'm excited for because I love that series. There's probably going to be Smash Brothers at some point. You can't have a Nintendo console and not have a Smash Brothers. It's like required by law. The other consoles that come out this year was the touted as the most powerful the world has ever seen, the Xbox One X. It's also confirmation that the era has hard generation resets and being replaced with something more nuanced. The PlayStation 4 Pro came out last year as well. I don't like. I still think obviously like in the console war that happened. Yes, the PS4 is probably I would say the PS4 with the Xbox and PS4 because I'm more of a Sony geek. I would say that was the one that won more, only because Sony knows how to do a presentation better than Xbox, as we've seen in the past on E3. But I would still say that the console war this year would have to go to the Switch just because of how revolutionary it is and how much I want that damn Super Mario Odyssey game. But yeah, so and not only that, remember there is an exclusive Pokemon game coming forward soon, just for the Switch. Not for the game, not for your 3DSs, not for your Game Boys, not for that, not for your mobile, blah blah blah. It's coming for a console, and I am excited for that. So,
why are there still console exclusives in 2018?
Because people still like money.
Yes.
because Microsoft and Sony want to sell you their consoles, so they need to have exclusives.
Well,
I mean, at least for the Switch, it makes sense something would be exclusive because that's such a different platform.
Right.
That, you're not working in the same realm as the other two. But I mean, ideally, everything that comes out for the Xbox should come out for the.
But I mean,
everyone has a PC.
Also true.
Okay.
Well, that's how I've avoided ever having to own an Xbox. Is anything that I ever would have wanted that would have come out on a Microsoft console, I just bought the PC version.
Yeah, because
you can nowadays you can get like a decent runnable PC for not a whole lot of money, and like it's got so much more functionality just in general than a console ever will. Well, to my knowledge. So like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean,
maybe that's why they're jealous. They're jealous of the PC.
But it's also licensing stuff too. Like Nintendo doesn't like really trust other companies too much with their content, so they want to. So I don't know. But it was a stretch for them. They even put it on mobile, and they got it on mobile, but. I don't know. There may be a foreseeable future at some point where everything is just there's like either it's all on PC or it's just one unique platform, and it's got to be PC because you can customize everything. Now, moving on, big games that came out, as we could arguably say one of the most not revolutionary, but one of the most popular games to come out was PUBG. Yes, it's buggy. Yes, it's a half-done mess.
Isn't it?
What?
Is this still like an early access or beta or something?
I think they've announced it's actually going to go to version 1.
Oh.
I forget when that's actually happening or if that has happened, but it spent the bulk of the year in early access. That was one of the complaints. I think you got some Game of the Year awards, and people were complaining like, how can a game that's in early access win Game of the Year? It's technically hasn't been released yet,
Right.
even though 3 million people play it on Steam and what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't get the hype behind it. It doesn't look.
I haven't played it yet. All I know is a lot of people find it really fun, and so I'm not gonna like rain on your parade if you find it fun.
And as of now, it seems horribly optimized, but it's still like early in its lifespan, so that'll come with time.
Yeah.
I think the appeal of it is that it works very well for the Twitch audience, and I think that's really what drove the growth behind it. That you've got this format of, okay, it's a shooter, but you're the framework of you're throwing 100 people into this space and then it's shrinking. I think enough people can grasp that, so you're it's I think it's one of those complaints like where you're talking about like esports and stuff like that, how sometimes it can be hard for a viewer to grasp, even if it's just like two teams shooting at each other back and forth. But here it's like, okay, there's a very specific mechanic here that's at play here. It's a last man standing situation. You have the zone is shrinking as you go along. I think that made it easy for people to watch on Twitch, and I think it was also easy for people to then go in and pick up themselves. I think that's the most important thing. I think when you want to look at a game, you want to be able, for people who are new to it, to watch somebody playing it, be like, oh, that looks fun, then actually go in and simply get to the point where like, oh, this is fun. And I think it checked off those two boxes that drove it.
And as Polygon states on here, simple is really best. Like it is, you can make, the key about most games is like you don't want to overcomplicate a game, and this is exactly what they did. They just made it simple. Now, granted, the optimization still sucks, but that's just something they got to fix later on. And also, like you said, it is built for a Twitch audience, so even if there is bugs in it, you can comment on it in a Twitch stream and laugh about it rather than overanalyze it. Now, other games that came out, obviously we talked about Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey. Breath of the Wild was actually named Game of the Year at the Game Awards, whereas Super Mario Odyssey was also nominated along with PUBG. And then, of course, the awesome thing that was Horizon Zero Dawn also came out, which I'm surprised. Like, that was very close between that and Breath of the Wild, like, for getting, like, the top spot. And for some people, they still consider Horizon Zero Dawn is the biggest one. But
I think that developers looked at what they did with Breath of the Wild, and they were inspired by that. And not to take anything away from Horizon Zero Dawn, because not that I've played it, I want to play it desperately.
Yeah.
But that seems like that's just a fantastic game in its own right. But I think that Breath of the Wild was just slightly more respected by developers. I think that's kind of what drove that. I mean, but they've both got nothing but love from everybody as far as I've seen.
And I believe this Zelda game is the first open world Zelda. So
yes.
That's a whole new experience, and you could technically go and beat the boss if you're crazy enough right at the start.
Again, navigating an open 3D world, again, good for your brain.
Mega Man will be making a comeback next year as well. Crash Bandicoot and Bugsby got a new update with their games. Moira came out in Overwatch, so did Doomfist came out. Was Arisa this year as well? I think Arisa was this year.
Yes.
Yeah, it was this year. It was earlier this year, way earlier. Then there were some disappointments, like Mass Effect Andromeda.
I didn't play it, but everyone I asked about it, there's a pretty
overarching opinion.
Yeah, to say the least.
The only good thing about that is when I do get around to playing it, it'll be super cheap. Pick up like a bargain bin, but
wake me up inside.
It's odd you say that, because right before I went to sleep today, I was actually listening to Evanescence before I went to sleep. Their new album, they do like a lot of like rearrangements of their old songs. I heard their version of Bring Me to Life. Oh my god, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And that it shows you that Amy Lee is still freaking powerhouse of a singer.
Oh, she's insane with her voice.
We also have Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which they, according to this, failed to capture the essence of the original, and also had its own weird loot box system that happened. It still looks like a lot of fun. I'll still get it and still play it at some point. On the other hand, Overwatch went from strength to strength, according to Polygon. Already 6 months old when the year started, began as a major success and still is, making more than $1 billion in the past 12 months, passing the 35 million player mark as well. Woohoo!
Wow.
And then there's a bunch of indie developers that came out, and with the ever popular and ever frustrating Cuphead being one of them as well. So
I still want to play that game.
I still want to play that freaking game. It looks like so much fun.
Like people are always just very trigger happy to throw the Souls-like title on anything. Like, oh, it's like the Dark Souls, the platforming, or insert game style here. So of course when I heard that, I'm like, oh, I gotta try this. And I saw it. It looked just like the most fun thing ever.
I don't know why they say. I think the only reason they say Dark Souls is because of the difficulty of it, though.
Yeah, I can go into a whole debate about why that shouldn't be used just for difficulty, but that's for another.
I mean, if you want to call something Dark Souls, quality like gameplay, look at Monster Hunter. That's more of what you want to call Dark Souls quality.
That's more of an comparison, yeah.
You want it like because I don't see why you want to compare Dark Souls to something like Cuphead, because here, first off, two different types of games. Cuphead is a 2D side scroller. Dark Souls is not.
I mean, like they call it like the Dark Souls of side scrollers or platformers because what you do, you're overcoming a boss. You know, like it's hard and there's boss fights. Like,
but you realize,
like so many other games did that way before Dark Souls. Like why and we're hard. Why is that? You know.
But you realize that's
also grabber.
At some point later in the future, someone's going to call another side scroller. It's like, oh, this is the Cuphead of all side scrollers or something.
Which would make more sense.
It would make a lot more sense, but it's just gonna keep going. There's gonna be new labels added, and it's its own damn game. Just go play a game with the
exactly.
title.
People are just trying to extract attention for it. That's all.
And then we got controversies, which we're gonna go through quickly, especially one where we tried to talk about on the show and found out that was not a good idea. Anyways, so obviously the biggest controversy that happened this year was the loot box controversy, with Electronic Arts having. Not too smart of a decision here, but it wasn't the only one to get with the loot box issues. However, the Star Wars one was the worst by far, with which, the game would have been perfect. Like no one would have said shit about the game except like the people who hate EA, which is most of us. But they wouldn't have said shit about this game if the loot boxes weren't there. Like if they weren't there, if they weren't put in. There would not have been. This controversy would never have happened. However, they put it in. They effed it up. Made it where the only way you could, not the only way, but the easiest way you could actually. Oh my God! There's actually a funny ass joke.
Oh boy.
I don't know if this is spoilery or not.
Let's just err on the side of caution.
Err on the side of caution. This might be spoilers for a certain movie. Actually, no. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Don't bother.
No, I'm not doing that. I don't want to go there. I was going to, but no.
Now I want to know which movie you were gonna spoil.
Gee, whatever could I have spoiled? It was
The Usual Suspects.
I was spoiling the new Han Solo movie coming. No, I'm kidding. Oh. No, it's not. It wasn't it.
I'm so confused.
It would have been for Last Jedi, but we're not gonna talk about it. I'll talk to you.
Boxes.
Anyway, so company was forced to pull it back, but it still got hit everywhere, including the stock market. So, problem like that. Then obviously Destiny 2 came out as well, which was there was moments in that game that had some troubles, but overall it was still a fun game to play. Let's see. Oh, Polygon even faced controversy. With some stuff. Nick Robinson had his controversy. Naughty Dog released a violent trailer for Last of Us 2. Oh, whatever. We all remember the Pokemon Go event that went very badly in Chicago, which made for a lot of interesting news. And I think we had Joe on from Pokemon Go podcast on it. Very interesting conversation on how not to throw an event.
They were so underprepared.
Oh my God. How do you... it still boggles me. How do you not prepare for something of that caliber? Like, you know how many people are going to be there. You know how much... Okay, because I've learned this from last night when I was driving for Uber and Lyft and all that. Like, when you have so many people using your app in one space, that causes a network issue. A huge one. because I could not only could my app not register a pickup, it also didn't allow me to go on the internet to check something on Google. It didn't allow me to do any of that stuff. You have to have a booster in place, and you also have to make sure your game system can actually run the damn game. So in this kind of problem, which obviously they couldn't. You had people flying all the way in from like the Netherlands, China, and all that stuff coming to this event, and it was still like, it was still shit. So at least it was cheap.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if even if I had a lot of money, I still don't know if I would drive halfway across the world for that kind of event. But that's just me personally, you know.
Well, but it's whatever.
I mean, BlizzCon's BlizzCon, like that's across the country. That's 3,000 miles. That's quite the trek. You know,
and
imagine
BlizzCon, they still have network issues there. I mean, they're not promoting any, or you know, they're not advertising or any specific games there, but they still had problems. You know, people would say, you know, careful getting on the network. You know, your phone may not work if you're trying to tweet out and stuff like that. Like, and that's
a ton of people.
Yeah, and then people aren't there to actually use the app necessarily.
Right.
Like, the Pokemon thing, the whole reason you're going is to play the game. So that's
for using the app for the Pokemon Go thing, whereas like I said, BlizzCon, you're going there because they have demos for you. I mean, like, if you want to play our game, hey, go to the demo booth. You want to talk to people on the panels, go to our panels. And you can also watch it later if you can't access the actual panel. See, they've had a master class of how to do something, because you know they've had experience on how not to do something. But this is also an argument that can be made for Niantic, saying like, look, we fucked up. All right, we horribly messed up. Only way to go now is up, unless they do something very bad. And from what I've seen, they've had smaller like Savari Zone type events that go on that are first free. So that's a good move there. And second, they're a little more prepared for it, and I haven't heard anything bad from it. Unlike the whole PewDiePie incident earlier this year, which we're not going into. We're not going into it. I was just mentioning it. That is it. Okay? We are not going into it. All right? Then there's speaking of Pokemon Go, though, they also found a way to shame cheaters, which is aka spoofers is what they're called. Or is it spoofer? Yeah. Spoofing is, for those who don't know, is when you can place your character in some random point in the world and move around from your home like you're actually at the location, but you're actually not there. And if they catch you doing it, you are unable to do anything in gyms. You're unable to do raids. Not only that, any Pokemon you catch has a special label on it that says, "Hi, you did this illegally. You're a spoofer. F you." So, what else? What do we have on here? What was going on about Carl Sagan? Or no, not Carl Sagan. Never mind. Moving on.
Carl Sagan's The Cosmos, edited for rednecks.
What?
You ever seen that episode of Family Guy?
Nope.
Where they do that? Whatever. Never mind.
I don't remember. There's been a lot of episodes of Family Guy, okay? And then we have some farewells, which I don't think this isn't like a death farewell. It's more of a goodbye to certain things. We said goodbye to the Kinect on Microsoft. Didn't miss you, sorry. Companies like Runic, Visceral, Cast AR, Mad Cats, and Gazillion closed their doors. Warner Brothers called it a day with the LEGO Dimensions series. Peter Moore, a lively game industry exec who played up an image of showmanship, moved on from Electronic Arts to become a chairman of one of the biggest soccer clubs in the world. Club Penguin was closing down as well, which made a lot of people go, "What?"
Wake me up inside.
Wake me up inside. And that is pretty much the overview of what happened this past year.
Well, you missed one thing.
What?
Video games are a disease.
Oh, that is right. That goes into our main topic, which we'll talk about in a second. But before we do, want to go real quick to Nick. Tell us again what podcast you are on the Mash Those Buttons podcast, real quick.
I'm on The Torn and the Goblin and also WoW Talk.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's it. Let's go. No, no. So, obviously, so for WoW Talk, as it sounds, WoW Talk. I know you guys are gearing up for the new patch coming out very soon. Whenever TM. And then on Torn and the Goblin, you guys recently talked about the Antorus cinematic that just happens, and what that sword is causing problems for us and stuff. So spoilers, by the way. But anything that you would like, any New Year's resolutions that you have for podcasting at all this next year?
For podcasting, well, we want to have you guys on again at some point because you guys are great guests.
Yes. Next time I'm on, I'll make sure I'm not using my headset mic and I'm using my studio mic.
Yeah, we'll get all that worked out.
Condenser mic, Cabo.
It's it's my sister's studio mic.
A Yeti's a condenser mic, Cabo.
It's a studio mic.
No, it's a condenser mic.
A condenser mic is a studio mic. Shut up. All right.
No, it's not. It's a USB mic.
You shut your mouth. All right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. USB mics.
Anyways, but yes, what had happened was in Skype it was picking up the condenser mic. It was picking it up there in Skype, but on the recording it was picking up my headset mic, which I'm salty about.
Yeah, gotta make sure Zencaster's using the right stuff.
Yeah.
On your end.
That recording was fun in general.
It was a lot of fun.
Ours kept like dying or something. Like we kept having like what was happening with ours, Nick? Like something kept resetting. Like we would have everything, and then one person's mic wouldn't get detected. We had to restart like 7 times or something.
Yeah.
And like I kept hearing this, like no one else heard it. Stream didn't hear it. You didn't hear it. I kept hearing this weird echo from Katie's end, and I had no idea why. And sometimes I would hear it, and sometimes I wouldn't. It was the weirdest thing.
So if I have any podcasting resolutions, is to get these audio issues squared away. I mean, podcasting is awesome. You come on, you talk with great people, and you deep dive into some fun topics and stuff, and then you go to listen to it back, and it all sounds terrible because you didn't have something checked off, or there was just some Skype or Discord was being weird or whatever, and it's like
Although hats off to your audio guy. What's his name again?
Oh, Jared. No, he's amazing.
He does some good stuff, man.
That's Ja, right?
He puts the Ja. He hosts Watchpoint Radio, and he runs the site. So
I like the joke you made on the last episode where Katie said something about a Junkrat being a Junkrat main, and he said in chat's like, Junkrat main, I'm gonna need to see you in my office place.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about this.
Well, that's why we don't. That's why we're not on the Overwatch podcast. Because I don't play Overwatch, but I do enjoy claiming that I am a Hanzo main.
I would like to imagine that Ja like interviews every single person that comes on his podcast. It's like, so what do you play in Overwatch? Well, I really like to play Junkrat. Get out.
See, for me, that's like Pharah and Orisa. Oh, I made Pharah or Orisa. Get out. We all have we all have those characters. I know you like playing Pharah.
She's not my main. You know, my main's Diva. Always
right. But like we all have like those couple of characters maybe who we hate going against for any kind of reason. I could write an essay. On what's wrong with Orisa, but at least
the thing here, I'm going to argue that real. I really find it not. I don't find it hard to go against Orisa, especially as Diva, because you can zip around her.
600 HP and a barrier.
But see, with Pharah, you can also go above and just shoot behind her barrier where she's at. You can do that, and the other Reinhardt. Sorry.
Right, you got granted, McCree is not the best when it comes to countering Orisa, and I do main McCree. But Pharah, as much as I don't like her, McCree is one of the best at countering her, so it's really not a big deal. But I just think Orisa, she has too many tools, and they're all too powerful. Like, nerf one of them, and I'll be happy. You know what I mean?
Well, you could easily the thing is about with her damage nerfing ability is, yes, it does. I don't know what the hell's going on in chat right now. You're muted, also, by the way.
My girl just said, "Leave my Nigerian horse lady alone."
She's that very beautiful horse lady. The thing with her damage nerfing ability is yes, it's gonna prevent a lot of damage, but it's not going to nerf. She's not going to take no damage at all. She's still going to take damage. You can still mow her down.
Yeah, but she still has a tank's amount of health with that damage reduction, with barriers that she can spam on a pretty regular cooldown that have quite a lot of HP for that level of cooldown. Her gravity lapse is super annoying. The fact that she can take all this damage with those shields, and her turrets her guns are so powerful. She can be taking pretty much no damage to very little damage while just mowing shit down. I feel like she's just got too much. That's just my opinion. And someone complained that her ultimate wasn't like a big like blow it out of the water ultimate, like it's like a support. And I'm like, considering what she has at her,
Arsenal.
her advantage, yeah, considering her arsenal, she would be stupid, like overpowered to levels of stupidity if she had like a like Nukem kind of
Duke Nukem.
ultimate.
I can
You know
just
what I
see
mean?
her go up like, and I'm all out of bubble gum, or something like that.
Like she blows a bubble, blows up the whole map. Like
Yeah.
that's like it would be silly if she had that kind of ultimate. So like the one thing, my favorite thing about Arisa is the fact that her ultimate is like a support thing.
Okay.
Enough about that.
One last thing about next podcasts. Is there one thing in Torn the Goblin lore wise you guys have not talked about yet that you really want to talk about coming up?
Is there one thing that we haven't talked about that we really want to talk about?
Or multiple things, rather. If you have multiple.
Well, at some point, and part of this is due to the fact that I still haven't played through it completely. At some point, we do want to talk about the Suramar story and go into that. And I think really, I guess the one thing, I mean, I guess this is the nice thing about doing like a lore podcast is that, you know, you have this entire wealth of backstory to dive into as far as going through topics. So I can't imagine that we'll run out of topics anytime soon.
Right.
But at some point, I think I would like to go back and look at the zones, at least the post-Cataclysm zones. I can't really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess maybe once Classic comes out, we can actually talk a little bit more about some of the old Classic story.
Yes.
But just go do a deep dive into each of the zones and be like, okay, like this is what's going on in like Winter Spring rather.
No.
You know, this is the story here. Especially because Cataclysm was really when they sort of started that idea of like each zone should sort of have its own cohesive tale that it tells and then moves you into the next area.
I mean, I'd love to reminisce about Mogor, especially because like I remember when I first started playing, I played as a Tauren, and in Mogor, like you actually had to go into the cave area with where all the like big people are, and like you actually get to see that area. Unless you fly over that area, you can't actually access it on the ground anymore, which is unfortunate because that thing is so awesome. Like, it's a perfect place if you roleplay. It's a good place to have an RP event, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
All right.
And actually, that may be something else too, is to talk about some of the zones and specifically how they changed in the Cataclysm. I mean, thinking about like the Barrens and was it Razor Friend Crawl and all the. I mean, that whole southern area of the Barrens right before Thousand Needles. I mean, that all changed.
Mm-hmm.
And Thousand Needles itself
Yeah, and Thousand Needles itself
became a glorified swimming pool.
I mean, you lost the Shimmering Flats. That's just gone.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, if the sword, when we had the argument about where was his hand when he put the sword in the earth,
it was still in the clouds.
It was. I know it's a joke, but I would like to imagine if his hand was anywhere, it was in the ocean, so that it could suck all the water up, and all the water in Thousand Needles would go into it. That we could go back to the Shimmering Flats or something.
Or just push the fucking Shaman Order Hall back into the Maelstrom. We could be done with Shaman.
True. All right, but anyway, so you can find both of his podcasts over at themastersbuttons.com. And again, it is Wild Talk and The Torn and the Goblin, which he co-hosts with Katie, who's also been on the show, which we also need back at some point in the future. So, all right. Now, as AJ noted earlier, there is a late in this year, this thing has come up where the World Health Organization has now classified gaming disorder as a list of mental health condition. And this is coming from CNN, which is probably one of the only articles I've read on CNN that I don't agree with.
The font of all knowledge.
The font of all knowledge, yes. I mean, here's the thing. I don't even look at news on CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC. None of those places.
No.
Because it's all politically biased. Like, obviously, Democrats want to watch CNN. Republicans want to watch Fox News. And then MSNBC's there's like, we got stuff too.
Yeah, then gamers are just like, we can't be arsed with either of this crap.
We want X-Play back. No. Anyway, so, all right, the WHO, which is the weirdest, it's not a good anagram for not anagram, what's the thing? Acronym? There we go. Acronym for their name. The WHO defines the disorder as a persistent or recurrent behavioral pattern of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. The disorder is characterized by impaired control, with increasing priority given to gaming and escalation, despite negative consequences. Video game playing, either online or offline, must be normally evident over a period of at least 12 months for this diagnosis to be made, according to the beta draft guidance. However, if symptoms are severe and all requirements are met, healthcare professionals may include people who have been playing for shorter periods of time should the thing be met. Then they talk about a guide of diagnosis, debate on diagnosis, and all that. All right, AJ, I know you have something to say. Go. I know you.
Okay. So. What?
Click.
What?
Okay.
So basically, I actually don't have a lot to say, but what I do have to say is, I think, is like the meat and potatoes of it is that a lot of times when people have issues with video game addiction and these symptoms, like they have an addictive personality, or they're looking for an escape. Right. And if it wasn't video games, it would be something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like whenever my mother would give me shit about playing too much of WoW, because that's all I did when I was younger, I would be like, "Would you rather me be doing drugs?" She didn't like that response because she didn't think I would be shy. Those were the standards I should have been setting. But it's about to go down.
It reminds me of when me and my cousin zooted when we went to we went on a 4-wheeling trail, and we didn't want to go, but my mom was like, "You need to go outside. You need to go do stuff." I'm like, but
there's bees outside.
We could be inside safe and not getting hurt playing video games. Like, no, I don't care. Go outside. What happened? And what happened when we went outside on the 4-wheelers? One of our friends flew off a cliff, and he didn't die. He didn't get hurt. He drove off a cliff.
You sure that wasn't the video game? Drove off the cliff, just a scratch.
No, just a scratch. But then when we came back, my cousin went to my mom's like, "You see, Aunt Lou, we would have been just safe and fine in our own house and we wouldn't have gotten hurt at all if this." You shut up. All right, so.
Yeah, but yeah, like my girl in chat, Briefly Bear says, the whole thing is scaremongering parents from video games. Honestly, that's all it achieves. Because like my mother is very much she likes to do her research, but she doesn't really care where the research comes from a lot of the times, especially when I was younger. And she's like, "Don't judge me, I'm trying to protect my baby and be a good parent, is right?" But like, and I understand that, I respect that. I'm not a parent, I can't comment too much on parenting, obviously. But when you're just like, when you let every little thing you read scare you, and like crack down on what your kids are doing as a result of something that you read without even really knowing if that's happening or not, like, that's kind of silly. You know what I mean? Like, and I also do feel bad because there's I understand the previous generation. Like, Nick, I wouldn't quite lump you in with like, no, you're young. You're a lot younger than my parents. You're in between. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, like, you're a parent, but you're still a lot younger than my parents. My parents, that generation, I try to sympathize because they didn't grow up immersed and submerged in technology and video games like we were.
Right.
They just don't understand. Like, they played Galaga and Asteroids in the arcades once a year.
The thing I think most parents don't understand, and what they don't do with their kids that have interest in this, is they don't try to understand like why they like it and why they play this. Which is, for to give you my experience, like, I was not allowed to play on Sundays for the longest time when I lived in my parents' house because they were like, "It's the Lord's Day, we can't do it."
Video games is the devil.
The devil. All right, but the other reason is they didn't like understand certain parts. Like, I mean, my dad was all in racing games. He could get into that any day, which it was always hilarious watching him try to do Mario Kart. But whenever I started playing WoW, and then they realized there's no pause button. That when they
I still have to tell my mom there's no pause button in online games.
It didn't occur to them that something was going, like, there was something more than just a game going on here. There was a community behind it, and there was people you talked to. They all thought the people I was talking to were fake and computers. No, they're real people. And it wasn't until recently that my mom actually asked me questions about the game that threw me off. It was during a stream. Like, I was streaming. I get a phone call from my mom, so I mute my mic so no one could hear this. But I answer the phone. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "Oh, I'm doing nothing. What are you doing right now?" "Oh, I'm streaming." "Oh, what are you streaming?" "Oh, I'm streaming World of Warcraft." "Oh, that's cool. Hey, so are you on the Horde or the Alliance?" Like,
She probably had
what?
Google in one hand. Like as you were telling her what you were doing, she probably had Google in one hand that led her to these questions.
What's the
But hey,
horde?
that's awesome though.
This
My
horde.
mom's like, this is that the game that makes my eyes hurt and make me motion sick when I watch you?
That's all games.
What I get.
That's all games. All games will make your eyes hurt at some point. Although I found that PC games make my eyes makes my eyes hurt and do not make my eyes hurt as much as console games, which is another reason for PC games, guy. No,
Smaller screen, you know.
But smaller screen and also, well, I can't argue that because there's a TV right here. But there, you know what I think a lot of parents need to do is just understand it. Like, don't come in going like, oh, you can't play that. That'll ruin your life. That'll make you kill people. That'll make you turn against your parents. No, you don't. The way you're talking to your kids like that will make your kids turn away from your parents. Because like my parents said, like, don't play video games all throughout college. What did I do? Play video games all throughout college.
And you were an honor student, goddammit.
At first.
You passed college, goddammit.
I came out with a 3.0, which I think is pretty decent. All
that's
right,
solid, dude. That's better than where mine is right now.
But I mean, I also learned really quickly that I had to limit my gaming time because I was playing a lot through freshman year. Which other thing is, you got to also not self-diagnose yourself, but like be aware of your like of your problems that you have. Like, if you do realize that you're addicted, you're going to find out eventually you're addicted. All right. For some people, you can't just go to someone and say, you're addicted and you need help. That's why we need to send you to the WHO or whatever the World Health Organization is and get this stuff taken care of. Like, you can't like just force it on somebody. You have to let them realize it. And unfortunately, the sad thing is not everyone realizes it until it's too late, or until like they're in a place where they're like, oh God, I'm what am I doing in my life and stuff. Like, I noticed that, I want to say it's either sophomore or junior year, when I think I was using my credit card more to pay for subscription rather than my actual checking account. And that's when I had the wake-up call. So, but, I mean, I don't think it's a mental disease for the gaming itself. It's more of, like you said, it's more of like an addictions thing. If it wasn't video games, it would maybe be something else for most people. Like, or for some people, not everybody who has a problem with addiction. Some are like comedic addictions, like, oh, I'm addicted to donuts. I could eat that all day and all my life. Well, then you're gonna get diabetes. But
diabetes. I actually watched that commercial the other day with Wilford Brimley. I'm like, oh, the legend.
Is he still alive, or did he pass away?
I think I would have heard about it if he did.
Yeah, that's such an icon. But let me ask you, Nick, because you are a parent, and how old is your kid? By the way,
he is almost 2.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about him right now.
If he's playing video games at this point, he's either really smart or I'm really screwed.
It's like he's a raid leader. He does a raid on the weekends.
No, but I think like you made the point earlier, like, you know, like parents not understanding, like, oh, there's no pause button in like an online game, or even like parents not understanding that a game is more akin to like a social event than it is, you know, like, oh, like you're just playing a single player game. And I think that's something that, like, as a parent, I'm going to be aware of, because if my kid gets into gaming in any capacity, I'm going to be just as interested in what he's playing as he is, and maybe he'll pick games that I may not particularly like, but I mean, like I haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, but I can converse in that. You know, I'll be aware of. I think just in general for his media habit. I think just as a parent, you need to be aware of what your kid is doing. And
the best parents to help kids in the gaming stuff is nerd parents, because
exactly,
we already know
it takes one to know one.
Yeah, it takes one to know one, and that's why I think you'll be really good with it, because like, you know, going in, like, all right, I know that at some point my kid's going to be interested in this or want to know more about it. And the best thing I would say, like, if you're like as a parent, like if your kid starts showing interest in it, that is when you go into like learning about it. Don't just shun them from it. Like, go in and be like, well, what is interesting about it? Why do they like this? Like, they were trying to show me on a Super Mario game. Like, really? Of all characters that shown me on, you pick Super Mario. No. I understand if it's Grand Theft Auto, but, like, Mario is, like, entry
Hookers
point
and
for most
blackjack.
people. Hookers and blackjack.
Well,
Totally.
But I think, I mean, ultimately, I think they're just going to use whatever. I mean, the image they use really doesn't matter. But at the same time, I think if you have that addictive personality, and I think it's important to note, like you said, like you kind of saw you were starting to engage in behavior that was dangerous, and you self-regulated yourself.
Right.
Which means you don't have that addictive personality, or at least not as it applies to video games.
Yeah.
The problem is that there are people out there that don't. I mean, and it's sadly, I shouldn't say sadly, but I mean, mostly it's anecdotal. I think there's the story of the guy in Japan or Korea who sat in front of his computer, I think playing WoW until he died. Like he just didn't get up to use.
Yeah, there's always that one story that people use to make that point.
Right, and I'm not making the point that it's like a pandemic or anything like that. I guess I'm more so saying that these individuals exist. There may be a handful of them. They may not be, they may be an extreme minority, but these individuals do exist. Now, I don't know if it necessarily requires the WHO guidelines, but I think what it is that the health organization, they're mostly, I think this is intended for the world, not just the U.S. and our familiarity with technology. Because mostly, I think, like you pointed out, like the stories we hear in the U.S. are of parents ignoring their kids while they play Warcraft and stuff like that.
Right.
We don't have I don't think anybody in the U.S. Has actually died because they didn't get up to use the bathroom.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's more so. I think this is just sort of adding this to the list of things that people can be addicted to. I don't think this is anything.
But that's the key word there.
No laws are being influenced by this or anything like that.
That's the key word there, though. Is it's addiction. It's not a disorder. It's an addiction.
It's the person, not the game.
It's the person.
Well.
Like if you're unable, like that for that guy. This is gonna sound insensitive. For that guy to die playing the game, not going to the bathroom straight. That was his flaw. All right. I don't feel sorry for him passing away in that way, because you could have went to the bathroom. What, were you afraid that you were gonna lose your computer spot? I don't know. Have a friend with have a friend with you. Have him watch your seat. Go to the bathroom, then come back.
Yeah, that's clearly somebody who has and like I feel sorry for people like that. I wouldn't envy being someone who has that level of addictive personality.
I think I probably sounded a little callous saying that. Like I feel sorry that he died, but like I don't feel sorry of like what led to him dying, because you had warnings, you that you needed to go to the bathroom, you needed sleep, you needed all these things, but you chose to ignore them. All right. There's one thing when I was addicted, if I really needed to go to the bathroom, I went to the bathroom.
A full bladder is a full bladder. I don't care what the circumstances.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was not going to the bathroom that killed him. I mean, he also didn't eat for that time frame.
That other thing too, yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole host of issues.
I don't know about
that were compounded by the fact that he just didn't get up for a day straight.
I don't know about you, but I need some food every now and then while I'm playing a video game, especially if it's like a role playing story based game. And then when I get to the role play bit, all right, that's when I'm time to take a break from the gameplay and just sit back, relax, and enjoy the cinematic.
Well, we know the human body can go for at least 10 hours without food and or going to the bathroom because Jeff Kaplan.
But it was also possibly pre-recorded though too. We never know. We don't know that. But like we get the point though. Like we know the point. Like it's an overreaction thing, and the shame on CNN really for like trying to like kind of like get people having. I've noticed it a little bit too. That what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought.
Shame on CNN for engaging in clickbait, basically.
Yeah, it's clickbait. It's that a new study finds that so and so, but it's to the. If we didn't have too much of these, a new study finds this, a new study finds that, we wouldn't have eventually had this whole World Health Organization saying, hey, gaming disorders is now a mental disease. It's weird.
I think too that this is something that you're seeing more in other countries. I think that's why the World Health Organization is stepping in. That this isn't that I think from our perspective, I don't think we're necessarily seeing everything that the health organization is looking at, because as I said, a lot of these incidents happen in Asia. or especially in developing countries, is they get better access to video games and I guess internet access. Really, I mean, a lot of these games are as the people play the games on their phones. They're not even playing the same PC games that we're talking about.
Right.
That as this gets introduced to a larger part of society that didn't have access, it becomes more of an issue. I think from our perspective, we're talking about, we have a gaming history that goes back 20, 30 years. We're familiar, we know the PC and the lineage of all that and everything. And I think a lot of these people, they're getting their phone, they're finding out it's internet enabled for the first time, and they're from a caste of society that didn't have access to it before. And that's really where I think this is coming from.
Yeah. I think because like in South Korea or China, I don't know where it is, but they have like a cap off when you can play internet or go on the internet. Not just not for gaming, just in general.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. Because they've talked about, I don't know if it was the WHO necessarily, but even then, people there've been, internet addiction is something to be talked about and concerned about, and just general addiction to technology has always been a concern for these organizations. So in this case, they're focusing specifically on video games.
Right. Because I don't think CNN fully, like, they're doing the whole, and not just CNN, Fox News does it too, MSNBC does it in some capacity as well.
Any news media source.
Any news media. They only focus on, like, it's most of the news that we see now, it's mostly focusing on the negative, not taking the time to focus on why we, like, are engaged in this type of stuff. It's the parent problem, like we just talked about, is they're too focused on, like, oh no, don't do that, that's bad for you, don't play that shit. It's more, if they took the time and like actually understood like why people play these games and what's interesting, then they'd understand. Like why you play that game? I don't see why you play that game all the time. Well, for starters, the gameplay's fun. For other starters, it helps me remember stuff easier. Also, the story is amazing.
Why do you watch soap operas all the time?
Well, yeah, why do you watch soap operas all the time? It's the same damn plot. It's like Dragon Ball Z, but like not action or anything like that. Like Dragon Ball Z was extended out over so many episodes for a charge up. Soap opera is extended out, charge up, finding out who the hell killed somebody. And turns out it was the grandma, and it was a letdown or something.
And she died 2 seasons ago anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so. There's and then there was this whole thing, like another argument saying like, well, why people like want to spend $60 on paying for a video game rather than paying money to go see like a movie or stuff. Well, they say, like, I understand that where people like with the mindset of $60 is too much for a video game now in some capacity, because I remember when it was $50. But you also got to remember that paying $50 to buy a video game is a lot different than paying $50 to go see a movie at a movie theater, because remember, you got to also factor in tickets, you got to factor in getting popcorn, you have to factor in getting coke or drink and all that, if you just don't do that in general, and you end up with a video game, you have much more content to do. You have more hours of gameplay depending on what the game is, especially if it's Skyrim. If you have Skyrim, good luck. You have like a whole year of your life you're not going to have again. That whole game causes addiction issues right there, because you don't want to get out of the game. But that was also another thing I got from Watch Mojo, like watching their new thing. But didn't want like someone to be like, they got that from someone else. No, but I understand. I guess it's more of like you said, it's more of like on a global scale for most other countries, but I don't think it's as bad as a problem here as it is like elsewhere, because like you said, like people are just trying to get the access to it, whereas here we have for now unlimited access to it, unless what's his name decides to f it up somehow.
I think we're just familiar with it. Like we joke about like, oh, like even before my joke about like, oh, this dungeon run is addictive, but I think for the most part people are able to self-regulate and kind of realize like, oh, hey, I need to stop doing this, or at least if we're intentionally making a decision, like I'm not going to, feed my kid, as opposed to playing a game, like that's a criminal act basically. It's child negligence. But I mean, I guess that's really where you run into problems. I think for the most part, people are kind of able to realize like, no, I need to make sure like I have all my basic needs met, and then I can game in the time I have after.
Yeah, life comes first, guys. Okay.
Exactly.
Also, don't be that raid leader who kicks you from a raid because you were at a funeral. All right, that's just a dick move. But,
yeah.
And I know people like that, sadly. But anyways,
game, bro.
Anyways, yeah, it's just a game. It's like everything else, guys. We have our own addiction stuff. But if you are addicted to a game, if you feel like you're addicted to a game, just start asking yourself questions like, how long do I play this game? Is my health suffering from it? Am I horrible to people that I'm usually not horrible to? Just ask these things. If most of the answers are yes, you might want to get help.
You might have a problem.
You might have a problem. Now, I'm not like condoning addiction in any way, because in anything, not just for game addiction, but for tobacco addiction, marijuana addiction, alcohol addiction. Like if you're addicted to something, you need to get it checked. But at the same time, like, don't call it a mental disorder of gaming. It's not a mental disorder. It's just an addiction problem. All right. And I think that's all we have to say about that. So.
And that's all I have to say about that.
About that now. So, having said that, that's about it. I say that's a show. That's a show we're gonna have. So anyone who's watching on the Twitch stream or the YouTube video when we put it up, or if you're listening to the audio, if you have a favorite moment or game from 2017 that you would like to share with us, please send us an email to patchdaypodcast@gmail.com, or send a tweet to patchdaypodcast, or leave a comment in the YouTube video link below so that you can talk about it, so we can discuss it on the next show. Nick, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at WookieBH on Twitter. You can also find me at WowTalkMTV on Twitter and at Torin Goblin on Twitter. And as mentioned earlier, both podcasts are on the mashthosebuttons.com website and available wherever most podcasts.
Yes. And again, thank you for coming on again. This was
thank you for having me. This is, as always, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah, because I like having people I like on the show. So
obviously.
Other than those assholes that come on. No, we don't have any assholes that come on. At least I don't think Chain. But or Terrell. But no, I'm kidding. AJ, we know where we can find you, but in case they don't, where do people find you?
You can find me anywhere: Twitter, Twitch, YouTube at AJ9Lives, AJ number 9.
Yes, AJ9Lives on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Pornhub, all those places.
Haven't we used that joke?
We've used it a lot, but it's still funny in some capacity. All right. And you can find me on Twitter and YouTube, all the places at Conflict350, especially on Twitch. We record this every Sunday for now at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, unless something weird comes up that I need to change or something like that. I don't know. But we also are a part of the Elite Immortal Gaming Network, which you can find us at Elite Immortal Gaming on YouTube. You can also follow them at Elite Immortals on Twitter to get notifications on when our uploads come up, and also what other awesome stuff we put on the channel. You can also find the podcast at Patchday Podcast on Twitter and at patchday.podomatic.com. You can also download the episode on iTunes by subscribing to the iTunes feed. And that's about it. I would say that's it. So, for AJ, for Nick, for myself, and for all you lovely people in the chat room, we will see you next Sunday. Well, it's Monday right now. Never mind. We'll see you Sunday for another episode of Patch Day. Until then, logging off. Bye, you lovely people. Be good. Don't get addicted. Bye.